Welcome to FUNC YOU UP, the podcast that gives you the best of functional medicine, nutrition, and wellness in 8 minutes or less.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FUNC YOU UP. This is Michelle Miller, clinical nutritionist.
And this is Diana Orchant, functional medicine registered dietitian-to.
And today we have our first guest, Bailey Dougherty, who Bailey and I actually grew up really close by to each other. And I've wanted to do this episode for a while, and I just knew within the last couple of weeks this was the time that this needed to happen. We are in the midst of this COVID crisis. There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't really know when we're coming out of this. There are a lot of people going through very traumatic events right now, a lot of just unknown, a lot of fear. And so I really thought that we could learn a lot from kind of Bailey's story, some of her strengths, and kind of, spread as much hope as we can during this really uncertain time. So Bailey, I'd love to just start out and kind of hear a little bit about, what you've been through, and we can kind of just dive into the process of, what that process was and how that has shaped a lot of things that we're kind of pulling from today.
Beautiful. So I am 9 months post-accident. Back in July of 2019, I was up north with my family. I was on the back of an ATV with my mommy. And I don't know what exactly happened, and no one really does. But there was an accident. My mom was driving an ATV, and I think that she swerved to miss an oncoming truck, and the result was her not making it through the accident, and me having to be airlifted to the closest hospital, which was 2 hours away, and had an open book pelvic fracture, broken ribs, head lacerations, and after multiple attempts, a 14-hour surgery, harvest of my left vein in my leg, my right leg was amputated. So in a mere couple of hours, I lost my mom and I lost my leg, all in a flash, in a blink of an eye, just on a really beautiful day that we did not see coming. So it was a pretty tragic thing. Yeah.
And it was shocking. Obviously it was, we grew up in very small towns, very connected communities. It was, everybody knows everybody, and it really obviously shook you. It shook the community. It was really one of those moments where like you have everything and the next day you don't. And then tell me a little bit about that journey, being in the hospital, then transitioning home.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So they had kept telling me, you're going to be in here for 2 to 3 months, and you're going to be in here for, we're not sure how long you'll be in here. And I was just like, all right, we'll see. I did end up getting out of the hospital in 20 days because I was following the rules. I was doing all of the things that I was supposed to be doing. And I do feel that prior to, I was just in a healthy state, that my body was able to start that, fight or flight recovery. And so I did get out of the hospital in 20 days, and then started my 8-week of you can only pivot. And I was a real Friends episode, man. I could only pivot for 8 weeks because I had an external fixator and my pelvis was all not back together. So all of a sudden my bedroom was in my living room, and my husband was sleeping like upstairs, and I had a cousin sleeping downstairs. Like it was not the life that I had. And it was an instantaneous like, oh, you think this is bad, so it was a very sudden adjustment that I had to make, and so many other people had to make too. So
Wow, yeah. Bailey, can you tell us a little more about this health journey that you were on and how you think that the committing to health for a few months before this whole thing happened really helped shorten your length of stay in the hospital?
Yeah, so I 179% believe that my fitness journey and my health journey. So I've always been like a fairly healthy eater, but January of 2019 and very active, like we always hike and all this stuff, but like January of 2019, I was like, listen, girlfriend, like you don't like what's going on, like around your stomach, around your this, like there's no point in looking in the mirror and being like, wah, wah, wah. So like I finally got myself to this state where I was just like crushing life. And my husband, he's a trail runner and we hike like basically for a living. And so I finally got myself to a place of being able to keep up with him. I had dropped 20 pounds. I was so fit. Like I didn't get out of breath. Like he even mentioned like, oh my, why are you like right next to me? I'm like, listen, don't even worry about it. I am like here for the long haul, bro, you know? So, but yeah, so I said that in the hospital. I don't know if I would have made that pavement hit. I was literally laying right next to my mom who was not alive, like very close, lots of blood transfusions, lots of all these things, that I was mere seconds and mere whatever away from not making it. My mom had MS, and I feel like that had a lot to do with, and also like the accident, but you know, I like, who knows, like if I wasn't in a strong enough state, like what would have happened to me too, you know, if I had underlying disease or whatever, like I don't, but my fitness is what I had, and I do believe that that helped me make it through the accident, and then also helped me make it through my recovery. I'm still clearly on my journey of recovering, but that's what helped me, you know, get out of bed. It helped me, and my mind was strong because I had my health at a place where I wanted it prior to this accident, because I stopped waiting and I just finally was like, listen, babe, like, let's do this. And that was one thing that I was really pissed off about in the hospital. I was like, oh my God, I just did all this work. And now look at me. I have one leg. I can't even move. I can't even get out of bed. People are wiping my ass for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm a disabled human, just like instantly. But I like kept countering that somehow, and I was just like, but think about where you would have been if you know, like if you hadn't already gotten yourself to that state. Like it would have been bad because it was bad. So not being a fit, like, and not even fit, like I'm not like, I wasn't like by any means running marathons and stuff, but like my fitness level for me was good, you know? So that did help me in extreme ways, to get out of the hospital, and my recovery of just like stamina and being able to like have that mindset to keep, you know, hustling along.
You know, I think there's two important things that you just brought up. One being with the current COVID pandemic, we're seeing this hit really hard on people who are obese, people with comorbidities, people who were not fit as they could be or taking care of themselves. Now that's not, you know, it obviously isn't discriminating against very healthy people either, but we're definitely seeing a worse toll on those individuals that have these comorbidities, inflammation issues, you know, excess body weight. So it is interesting, the timing of that, you know, that this wasn't the summer before, you know, you were in an interesting, you'd already taken advantage of this 6-month period and really decided to commit yourself to changing your lifestyle and your routine. I also think an individual who commits themselves to changing their lifestyle, changing their habits, something happens in your brain, especially as you start to see these improvements. You know, you see yourself, you know, getting stronger. You're seeing your endurance build up. You look at a little different in clothes. You know, you're feeling, you know, the self-esteem helps, but you basically, what happens is your brain says like, oh, I'm someone who gets what they want. I'm someone who works hard and day after day. I reach my goals and I achieve something. And I really do believe that you experiencing that and knowing that, oh, I work hard and I get what I want, I can change my health, was somewhere deep inside of you during this rehab time, and still is today, because you've come a long way. And I also think now, like, you were just well, you can go into that, but like, you were just starting to get some of your freedoms, and now it's like, oh no, you're going to be staying in your house the next couple of months. Like, you're not going anywhere.
So that has been the biggest struggle for me. So we are all going through this quarantine and this lockdown situation and social distancing. I social distanced for half of my life last year. So believe me, I've had enough social distancing. I'm actually a professional now. No, I was never by myself, so that's fine. But I was just starting to get my mobility back enough to like go to the grocery store, go out for drinks with friends. Like, it still wasn't pretty, you know, and but there's something that's a little extra for me going on with all that, because it was like dangling right in front of my eyes again. You know what I mean? It was like right here. It's like the carrot, like on the horse, you know? And I was like, I was like, you know, I'm almost there. And then like quarantine happened. So, I get what people are dealing with not being able to get out in the world. And so I worked really hard to get to a place where like I was able to get back to my life, and very quickly, again, it's been 9 months, and that's not a long time in the grand scheme of life. But this is like happening. It almost feels like the universe is like, hey, Bailey, like, we hate you. Like, you know what I mean? So it feels that way. But then I have to remind myself, this is happening to all of us. Like, no, not everyone just like 9 months ago lost their mom and their leg. But this is happening to all of us. And it is like really not a leisurely thing for anyone. So I do feel everyone's pain. And it just, I know, it like.
The quarantine, a lot of things that I've noticed, myself, you know, talking with my friends, working with my clients, is that because we are stuck inside, because there are less distractions, because we can't go the way that we want to, especially in New York, this like insane city that never sleeps. You know, I feel that there are some things surfacing that we are now faced to process, whether we like them or not. But I do think that can be part of this like healing journey. And I mean, I certainly know you had quite a bit to process during this time, but what I also love is that you've been so open about, like, you have an amazing social media presence, because it's like the truth, it's the reality. It's not like, oh, sunshines and butterflies and, you know, go be your best self. It's, I sobbed the entire day. Like, you're very upfront about how you process, and also how you process through physical activity, and also how you show self-love through meal prepping. But I mean, what I really want to talk about is this internal voice that allows you to sob, but then also says like, all right, go girlfriend, let's go get them.
So I went back to work. So my accident was July 5th. I came home 20 days later, and then I went back to work September 23rd. So like, I took like 1 month of actual disability, and because I had like vacation and whatever, but because I didn't want to be alone with my own thoughts, I didn't want to have to be in this fishbowl of emotions, which I feel like what you were just touching on, we are all doing right now to like such a severe level, because it's like, how often in our lives have we been able to slow down this flow and actually pay attention to like, oh, there's some shit happening right now, like whether it just be COVID stuff that's like surfacing, or, you know what I mean? Like we were saying, like, we all know someone who's been affected by this. We all know people working on the front lines, people that are still essential workers, and like that makes everyone anxious. The fact that like we don't know when the hell this is ever going to end. Like, they tell us and then it changes, and they tell us and it changes. I firsthand experienced that all summer, because I was like, when like I'm stuck here with one leg forever. I'm stuck in this hospital forever. People are gonna be wiping my ass forever. You know what I mean? Like, so we do, as human beings, it's very natural that like we get stuck in the state of like, holy crap, this is never going to end. But so that I think was my saving grace through all of this, is that I had those feelings. I was like, oh my God, I hate myself. Oh my gosh, this. Oh my gosh, this, you know. I'm a gross person. I'm going to be crippled forever. I'm going to never do my hiking. I'm never going to get on my spin bike again. I'm never going to, you know, do my Shanti program again. I'm never, you know what I mean? Whatever it is that I was like totally obsessed with and like loving my fitness life. Just like, I'm never going to go in the grocery store again. Like, I've hit that goal, you know, I've done spin. Like, so, and my experience, that's the thing. So my experience is like very much an extreme experience, but it does relate back to like what everyone is going through right now, in terms of like, one day we were at work and then the Monday they said, you're not allowed to come back to work anymore. You have to work at home. So all of a sudden we had to all adjust our lives and adjust what we were doing and how we were doing it. And now we have kids at home, some of us. And now like, you know, our new puppies are biting our fake legs or whatever it is. Oh, wait, that's just me. Sorry. Just
So relatable. You too. Yeah.
So the thing is though, is that I find that you can grieve and process healthily if this is my like slogan, I dip low and I come out high, because if you're not able to be processing in like a sad, like weird way, and then like no one can like be going through stuff that's like weird and hard without being sad and feeling emotions and going through it. And if you are, you're not going to get through it in a way, like, I'm not telling you, but I just like know, because like if I wasn't dipping low and coming out high, I would be a slap of a freaking pile of human in my bed all day. And a lot of people say that to me. They're like, I don't know how you get out of bed. And it's like, well, because I have a choice to get out of bed. You know what I mean? Like, we do have choices. And so through all of this, through this quarantine and through like my accident and whatever, like everyone's shit is their shit, like your bad day at work, whatever it might be. And it's just like a bigger, you know, broader spectrum with this quarantine and COVID happening. If we're not able to like dip low and be like, holy hell, I hate you, I'm looking in the mirror, I hate you so much, and then be like, you know what, but your eyes are really badass today. Or like, you know what, I just ate that bag of chips, but I'm gonna go for a walk tomorrow, you know? So like, if we're not able to like be doing that, we're going to end up very messy, and we're not going to keep progressing. And if I was doing that, I would not be walking cane free 9 months in, or I would not be, you know, like being like, hello, like, when is margarita time with the girls? Like, when I was just getting back to all that stuff. So I feel like that inner dialogue that we're talking about is so important, because like, if you're not acknowledging that you're feeling that way, and you're not able to be like, whoa, girl, like, you gotta puke cry for a while, like, you know. And on my socials, like, people are like, oh, you know, like, it's okay to cry. And it's like, girl,
I know.
like, cry. I like scream, like punching bag. I don't even know what to call it. Hayden sometimes looks at me, he's like, and I'm like, just let me do it, you know? And then like, right, so I wake up and I look like a praying mantis, and then I like, the next day I'm like, so that's what I just think of life, like, it should be everyone's life motto. And I know that, like, you know, mental health is it's different for everyone, and it doesn't have one face. But, and I can't speak for people that are diagnosed with different mental health stuff, but if we're trying to practice like what we were saying earlier, like the steps and stuff that people are doing, like, you can't just all of a sudden be like, oh, you know, I can't get this, so I'm not going to eat healthy. I'm just going to eat the freaking butter sticks in my fridge, or whatever it is, like, because they're going to go bad. I don't know. But like, or the 10,000 steps thing, like, even for me, like 10,000 steps I used to try to hit, but like now I set my little watch for like 5, and if I get to like 2, I'm like, oh shoot, you know. It's like, even for all of us, like, we're working on our fitness, and if you can get to like, oh, today I did 2001, tomorrow I'm going to do 2002, you know. So like, I just think that like focusing on those little wins, like we said, that's the important part, and not beating yourself up so bad that you stay down, because that is not getting us anywhere.
I love the idea of using this as an opportunity to kind of take a look at what is taking up time and attention in our life, and maybe building upon it some new habits. And I think one of the things that really impressed me was you were like, you'd figure out your stool situation, but you'd be like, at the counter doing your thing, still meal prepping, and keeping your balance. I'm like, this girl is killing it right now. Like, I can't get people that I've been working with for months to meal prep, and like, she's doing it with one leg. Like, I'm over the excuses. But and like, your rehab was grueling. Like, what, but you also, like, you had the spirit of like, you want me to go up this hill once, I'm going to go up this hill twice. Like, you kind of have that inside of you. And I mean, I think this idea of like what you just said, like, always try to go one step further and one step further. And like, maybe today was a bad day and that's okay. But if tomorrow it's a little bit better, that's progress.
I feel like, and I think people are so anxious and so nervous and so, whether this quarantine thing, like, everyone I know, whether they have diagnosed anxiety or not, we all are anxious humans right now because we don't know who's going to, get sick next, or who's going to, pass away, God forbid, next. We don't know. It's terrifying. Like, I don't watch the news because I can't mentally fit all that in here when I'm sifting through my own stuff right now. So I get little updates and stuff like that. So being these anxious people and not understanding what's coming next, grasping something that is normal to us and paying attention to the fact that we are very much still here and we are currently healthy. We, our families are healthy. We have a roof over our head. We may be jobless right now. I don't know what everyone's situations are. We are blessed to still be here. And it, grasping onto that sense of normalcy for me, was so important with like my meal prep. Like, that was my life. Every Sunday I would meal prep, and every night I would make my dinner, and you know what I mean? So, and during this weird time with the quarantine and all this stuff, our lives are not normal anymore. We're home with our biting dogs and our biting children and whatever we're with. It's not normal. So if we're able to, still go on our nightly walks, or maybe that's a new habit. Maybe you guys are forming like new senses of normal. But for me, grasping and holding on to anything that I could that was still me, the closest version of me that I could be in that new life, my new normal, holding on to old normal Bailey was very important to me, even if it was just meal prepping. And yeah, my freaking heel hurt and I like was falling back in my wheelchair, and but I was still doing it because it felt good. Like, some sort of normal felt good. So I feel like that's important, to try to find a little bit of that.
Yeah, but it would be so easy to come up with an excuse not to do it. And there's something about you that I'm hoping radiates through this podcast to the people listening, that it's like, you know what, like, give yourself a little bit of a pep talk and like go do what you should do, what is good for you. Because it's really, you had mentioned this before when we were talking before we started recording, but like, there's no time for tomorrow, right? Like, there's no time for putting this off. And this is no better time than any to come to that realization.
So that's the thing. I thought that I was like living my best life and, doing all these things. I was like, for what I knew. It just, I guess that one of my things is like, I don't want it to take a horrific accident where you lose your most favorite human in the entire planet, your best friend, your mom. Don't make me get emotional. Your leg, your dignity, you lose that all in like a mere 5 seconds of, an accident. I don't want that to like be part of people's lives. I don't want them to have that to understand that like, oh shit, I could not be here tomorrow, or like, oh, like I didn't know until I knew. And that's like, I love that. Like, you don't know until you know. And that's so true. But I want people, the big thing for me. I want people to be appreciating what they have now. And like, we're all so scared right now, but we cannot live in a state of fear because we don't know. We could all get the corona, whatever. Some of us might make it out. Some of us think, like, we don't know. Like, my mom didn't wake up that morning, like, we were at the, you know, the beach and being in our bikinis and taking pictures of each other. And, you know, like, she didn't know that in five minutes she was not going to be here anymore, you know? So like, that is one of the biggest things for me, is like, we don't know. So don't take advantage. Don't say, oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. Oh, you know, I'll start, you know, my devotional or my exercise or my, you know, healthy eating, or I'll start calling my grandma more. Like, I just feel like this, like, any time is like, couldn't be a more better time than this quarantine, and having more time to actually like exist. Like, what are we doing other than existing? So like, let's reflect on our lives. And like, the other thing is, like, we're all gonna have bad days, and we're all gonna, but like, stop. I also like realized the thing that I did prior was like, I want a bigger house, and I wanted this, and I hate, you know, Julie because, you know, her house is so, it's just like, I think that we just need to focus a little bit on how great life is, no matter what we have. Like, of course, do better, want better for yourself. That is different than like being jealous and like not liking you and your life because of what other people have. I know that my life was amazing, and I just don't want people to feel like they missed out on stuff. And if something terrible were to happen, I don't want them to feel like, you know, and that's the thing, like, do you wish that you could have said stuff different to your mom? Absolutely not. So I was already living a life that she knew I loved her, and that was a really good life, but I worry for people. And I think that's why I can, like, I'm not at peace with losing her, but like, I am at peace with a lot of this because I know that I was already doing things in a good way with that. But I don't know. I just don't want people to be waiting to start stuff, or waiting to tell people that they love them, or waiting to hug people when we can hug people again, you know, like, just, we gotta live. And that, it's gonna sound super cliche, live every day like it's your last, but I'm telling you, you guys, like, could not be more true, because we don't know. And especially right now, we don't know. So it's a big thing for me.
It's true. I think it's thinking that you don't want to be waiting. You don't want to be waiting to get to this critical place, whether it be right now in quarantine or anything in general, to be grateful. And whether it be grateful or to make changes. And that we really have to see each day. And so whether that's taking the time that we have right now to be grateful, or taking the time to start new habits. I know, for example, from a positive light, we've gained, as Americans, New Yorkers, we've gained all this time that we didn't really have before, whether we were commuting or whether we were go running places after work. We don't have that anymore. And so kind of finding what we were missing, creating new habits, I think that's super important right now, and not waiting until quarantine's over or until figure out what's next, because we're not going to know. I think you really shined a lot of good light on that.
That's a great point, because we have so many clients, and I know a lot of people are in limbo, and you know, like you had mentioned before, people have lost their jobs, like there's a lot of stuff happening, but I do find it interesting, you know, the number of people who are like, let's just wait to continue to work on my health goals until this is over. It's like, why? Why would you put your health off? If anything, this is like, I'm the healthiest I've ever been right now. I've never taken better care of myself because I'm so freaked out by this. It's like, can I do a little bit more? Can I do a little bit more? Like, you know, our sleep, our stress, our eating, our exercise, like, these are all things that contribute to chronic diseases and, you know, a lot of lifestyle induced issues like diabetes and hypertension and obesity. So like, why put that off? You are so much more important than putting that off. So I so appreciate you sharing your story, Bailey. I so appreciate you processing publicly, because there's no right way to process, but there's a wrong way to process, and that's to not do it. It's kind of like, the more you brush under the rug, the more you're going to trip on later. And I really think it's like when you feel that emotion bubbling it up, if you're not going to like go ugly cry, or you're not going to journal, or you're not going to sing or work out, or whatever way you emote, I think we all have to be doing this at this time too, because there's a lot of crazy stuff and uncertainty and fear and pain going on. I want to end with something you said earlier, which was celebrating the small wins. And with that also, you tell a story about like, being at home and rehabbing, and it's just like, I can't believe this is my life now. But then having the first snowfall and being kind of in this moment of like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Like, have I always realized how beautiful this is? And I think with a lot of the time and chaos that's quieted down right now, we are able to see a lot of the beauty that's around us, and we are able to be a little bit more grateful for very, very simple things. And I guess my hope and my wish is that carries on once we get back into normal life. But I guess right now, could you kind of share with us some of the small wins that you experienced, one day to another?
Oh man, my life is like, because I am a slower human these days, with this prosthetic, and small wins is my life. But yeah, that first snowfall, it was the big snowflake kind, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, look at that snow. And for some reason, it just like, it hit me in a weird way. Like, I don't know, New York, like, I hate the snow usually, you know what I mean? Unless I'm cross country skiing, which like I couldn't do this year. And it was just like, holy crow, like, that is really beautiful. And I do have a memory of my, it's funny, like when you almost don't get to be here, you have and just like us, like, that's my story. But like this quarantine thing, we don't know what's happening next. So like you mentioned about like, just like noticing the blossoms, and it's like life is still moving, even like we are forgetting that it's spring or whatever, you know what I mean? Or like when I made it back to Wegmans for the first time, my little like deli dudes were like still over there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like my Friday deli guys, like they're right there, and they were waiting for me, you know what I mean? Like the blossoms were waiting for us, the snow is waiting for us. Like, so life is still going, even when we don't realize that. And we realize life is going because we have to wake up and put on bras and stuff like that. But like it doesn't feel like it's moving like it was, and it feels really slow. But I think that those little wins are what helps us like be like, okay, it's not so bad. Like, okay, like, and I remember being at a friend's wedding this summer and like listening to people laugh, and I was like, oh my God, like I almost missed that. I almost missed Liz and Andrew laughing at their wedding. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it just, I think we need to pay attention to more stuff like that, because life is still beautiful, and we are still so very blessed to be here, despite the horrors and chaos and freaking really weird times that are going on right now. The little wins are just where it is at, and if you can focus on them, I feel like it's like, I mean, a little win if it's like a glass of wine, whatever. I mean, I don't know what your win is that day, but it could be that.
I think you make it to a win could be just making it to the glass of wine, right?
Right, exactly. Through children and puppies and work and virtual meetings where everyone's talking at the same time. Like, it's good. It's like, it's a different time, but we're somehow going to make it through.
I love that so much. I love you so much. I'm so thankful for you. You are beyond inspiring. I don't know if you'll ever realize the magnitude of influence that you're having, but it is truly inspiring. I mean, there are people that you don't know that I've shared your story with that still message me and say like, I got up and did this because of Bailey. And it's like, it is just, it's incredible. And I love it so much. And I think this is going to just be a really wonderful podcast to share with a lot of our listeners right now. And is anything you want to leave the audience with? Anything that we didn't talk about that you would want to leave them with?
Man, I don't know. That's a big question. I don't know. find the light at the end of the tunnel has to come. I just got to preach that again and again. I don't know what's going to happen with when the world's going to start up again. I have no idea. But I do remember being a very terrified 28-year-old human in the hospital, missing my mama, missing my damn cute freaking chunky little thigh. Like, you know what I mean? Saying like I remember being in a state of like just being petrified. And I am like that a little bit now, but I do know that it is going to end. And I know that somehow we're going to come out of this and we're going to come out of it on top because we're all very strong, even if we don't feel it that like right now, like looking back to Bailey 9 months ago, like she didn't believe it. She didn't believe that, you know, she would be able to do this without her mom and get back walking and, you know, in such a timely manner. And I think that we, you know, we don't know about the world right now. And even if it's not about quarantine, like if you're listening to this and whatever your deal is when you're listening to this, like there is a light at the end of the tunnel because that is how life works. It does not stay in a shit sandwich. It eventually has to go away. So hang in there. We're gonna get through this.
I love it. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time and your energy and your story and your journey. It's really just, it's unbelievable. And I think you're going to bring a lot of inspiration and a lot of hope to everyone that's listening to this. And I thank all of our listeners for joining in. And you know, we use this podcast as a way to talk about health in all forms, whether it be physical or emotional or spiritual. So please, if you feel that this is a helpful podcast, if you feel like you want more people to hear this, we'd love if you would like us or share the episode with someone or leave us a review.
And if you have any questions, feedback, just want to say hi, reach out to us at FUNC YOU UP at Physio Logic NYC.
And then I will always be adding more content on my Instagram, Michelle_Miller_MSACN. And we hope you take this podcast and decide today that you're going to do one more positive thing for yourself and your health. And we want to hear about it. So please comment and share those beautiful action steps of health and beauty with us.
We can't wait to
everyone.
You've been listening to FUNC YOU UP. Be sure to like, review, and subscribe for more daily tips on living well.